How to stop abandoning yourself in your relationships and heal your anxious attachment styles in 4 steps. Have you ever found yourself desperately silencing your needs because you're desperate for approval, constantly putting everyone else's needs first because you are afraid not fitting in? Or maybe you feel completely worthless whenever you're not included or liked by someone? That's self-abandonment. It comes from a deeper self-abandonment wound. Today I'm going to show you why you keep losing yourself in relationships and revealing the exact 4-step process to finally break free from abandoning yourself. Stick around for this one mindset shift that completely transformed my relationship to myself, and then how this then created this ripple effect in my relationships to other people. But first, here are the 5 biggest mistakes that I realized that kept me from healing my abandonment wound. By the way, hi, I'm Yula. I am the Anxious and Secure coach, and welcome to the Anxious and Secure podcast. Healing my abandonment wounds was one of the biggest parts that really played the key role in transforming my attachment style. And what I've learned, I'm sharing today with you. By the way, this is part 3 of the Meet Your Needs in Your Relationship series. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist or doctor. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or heal any mental health condition. If you're in an abusive relationship or dealing with severe mental health challenges, always seek professional advice. So now let's talk about the 5 biggest mistakes I've did and I can see in other people too. Let's see if you're making them as well. First biggest mistake I see that keep you from healing is trying to convince yourself that your partner will stay forever. If you tell yourself your partner will never leave, people will stick around forever, they won't abandon us, they will stick around as a way to feel safe, that might not always work because we can't control that. We can't control other people, but this is something that will keep us stuck because we can't predict the future. Even if our partner really convinces us they will be faithful, we just don't know this because we don't even know if our feelings will change eventually, right? So real security comes really from self-trust, knowing that even if they might leave in future, we've got ourselves. You've got yourself. So that's where really true healing begins. Mistake number 2 is suppressing the fear instead of facing it. So I just need to stop being so sensitive. I shouldn't feel this way. But when you push your emotions away, they only grow stronger. When you push the anxiety away and only want to feel positive emotions in air quotes, this fear comes from somewhere, right? So you really want to validate yourself first. Facing the fear with compassion so that you allow the feeling to be there. Because when you push emotions away, they grow stronger, become these obsessive thoughts, anxiety, and emotional shutdowns. Yeah, they just grow stronger and they take control over you and over your actions and then create the results you really don't want to create. Mistake number 3 is blaming yourself, your partner, or your parents. So maybe you're telling yourself, if I were better, they wouldn't leave, or it's my avoidant partner who's the problem. It's all their fault. We need to understand that as a child, you could have been really abandoned, and this was really a huge threat to your safety. You're dependent for your safety on your caregivers, like your mom or your dad or the person who raised you. But as an adult, you can feel the abandonment, you can feel being abandoned, but it's not the same unless you really need someone else to take care of you. But otherwise, you need to separate your emotions from the thoughts. You're not being abandoned in the same way, even if it might feel this way. The thing is, your feelings are always valid. They're always important. You can always feel abandoned and hurt and angry, but your stories, the thoughts and beliefs around them might not always be true. And you always want to question them because that's where you add thousands of layers of pain towards this. And if you keep stuck in the stories and this shouldn't happen and why do they do this, you will never, move towards healing, and you won't be able to heal your abandonment wound and always just blame them and blame the reality, and you won't able to process their pain and their emotions. Mistake number 4 I see that avoids you from really healing your abandonment wound is you're chasing the reassurance instead of building inner safety. So maybe you're chasing texts and asking, hey, do you still love me? Why don't you reply faster to me? Why haven't you answered my calls yet? Over and over analyzing every interaction, what they're doing wrong and what they should be doing instead. And external reassurance is always temporarily. It's like a drug or like a chocolate. Like for me, it's like chocolate feels great in the moment and you really, really want it and you really, really need it. But 10 minutes later, half an hour later, you crave something else, or maybe the next day again. And it's this vicious cycle. You think that is the solution, but it's just temporarily a solution. And long term, it's actually damaging for you. And the more you get, the more you want, because you depend on that drug. You depend on this chocolate, the Ben and Jerry's, the reassurance, or the words of affirmation, right? It's not their words of affirmation you need, their reassurance, that chocolate or ice cream. It's your words you need, your reassurance, your affirmations, your connection to yourself, your self-love. So true healing comes from knowing you are safe, even without constant proof from other people. The last mistake I see is not rewiring your deep subconscious beliefs. Like, you can't just think your way out of this abandonment wound. Your nervous system and your inner child beliefs are really deep down rewired beliefs you see everywhere, you feel deep down in your body. And this is where I later talk you through these 4 steps, the 4R method, to work through all the layers that come with it. The emotions, the beliefs, your unmet needs from your childhood, and the deeper subconscious pattern. But first, let's get into the 7 signs you might be actually abandoning yourself. So the first sign that you might be abandoning yourself is, ask yourself this: do you quickly lose yourself in relationships with your world revolving around them while your needs take a back seat? Second question you can ask yourself is, do you struggle to meet your own emotional needs, waiting for their text or their validation or their quality time or something from them to make it happen, to feel okay, instead of self-soothing or meeting your own needs? Sign number 3 that you might be abandoning yourself is, are you constantly putting everyone else's needs first because you are afraid of not being liked, or pushing people away, or eventually that they don't like you? And the next sign is that you might be abandoning yourself is, do you feel fine when they're close, but panic and uneasy or on edge and not really fulfilled when they need space, or when they're away, or when they're at work, or when they're just going outside for a walk, or on holiday, or with their friends, or haven't texted you in a while? The next sign is, are you avoiding bringing up your needs, holding in your feelings, and silencing your actual true wants? Another sign is, do you say yes when your body actually says no? And the last one, have you lost touch with what you truly want because you focus so much on pleasing everyone around you? So if this sounds like you, these are strong signs that you're really abandoning yourself, and it's not because you're too needy or you're bad at relationships. When you abandoning yourself, you split off parts of who you really are. You're leaving parts behind, your real thoughts and feelings and your needs, just to get someone else's approval. This is why you might struggle, with low self-esteem, because you're hiding your true, authentic self. And when you do this long term, it leads to anxiety, depression, and also self-sabotage. I've been there, trust me, but this can really change. You can be your authentic true self without the fear of people not liking you, of people leaving you behind, or pushing people away. It's completely possible. We can change at any point and step into our more true authentic self without the fear. It is so possible, trust me. So now let's talk about the real reason why we do this and why we feel this way, because this is really the key to creating the change long term. So I used to think my anxiety was about my partner's mixed signals or lack of reassurance, because if he didn't affirm me or told me everything's going to be okay, or I look pretty, or any of these things, I thought there was something wrong with me and our relationship, and that he didn't care for me as much. I didn't realize that it was about my fears, and about different love language and all about this stuff. It was never about them, really about my partner. It was about me, about my old wounds that made distance feel very unsafe. I saw things that were not there based on the lenses I wore, based on my wounds. I saw everything as a threat, basically. Just because he wasn't giving me that much reassurance or affirmations, I thought that was a sign of there's something wrong. So what's really happening is that you can't function maybe normally until you get their approval, words of affirmation or reassurance. Maybe you can't eat or sleep or focus on work or anything else during the day, or switching off when you're watching TV and can't really focus on the thing that's going on. Giving all your energy to thinking about this person while forgetting your own needs and taking care of yourself, actually, that you're just functioning. And when you're always waiting for someone's approval, waiting for them to do something or to change something, you're telling yourself, I am not good enough on my own. I need them to be okay. But it goes much deeper than this. You are actually teaching your brain with those actions everything that your brain needs to know. When you're hypervigilant, worrying and overthinking, you teach your brain that this is dangerous. You have to keep watching him. Over time, your brain pauses, let's say digestion, focuses entirely on the solution. Your breathing gets faster, your heart rate increases. Why? Because you've signaled to your brain by obsessively watching your partner's behaviors and mood shifts on all of these things, that this is a dangerous moment. And that's when you are in this threat mode, like fight or flight. And this makes total sense from a survival kind of standpoint. Because back in the cave times, back in villages, being kicked out of a group, literally being abandoned, this was life-threatening. Our brains have developed to treat social rejection as a survival threat. When your partner doesn't text you back, doesn't respond to you, doesn't pay you attention, prioritizes someone else, your body responds like this is a physical danger, like you're being abandoned, like this is life or death. But you can heal this, but it starts with you by learning, you know what, I'm safe. I don't have to hyper focus on him. I need to focus inwards on myself. By the way, I have a free attachment library linked below in the show notes or in the YouTube description, where you can find lots of free resources, worksheets, journaling prompts, sheets, all of the stuff like the Anxiously Secure checklist, journaling prompts that really helped me to transform my abandonment fears, the Stop Being Needy guide, quizzes to figure out, hey, am I actually anxiously attached? Or am I actually disorganized attached? And also quiz to really find your top subconscious core needs so you stop sabotaging yourself, and so much more. So check it out. So now let's talk about the nervous system connection. So when you have an abandonment wound, your nervous system constantly scans for threats. When something feels like an abandonment, even just this little shift that your partner does, just little change, you fall often into these three patterns of sabotage. You either control, you either cling, or you either escape. So let's talk about control first, which is the main state someone is in who has an anxious attachment style and who has this wound of abandonment. So this sounds like I need to prevent them from leaving, so I need to control. By the way, a lot of people are in denial in this stage. If I talk to my clients first, they often say, I'm not controlling, I'm not a very controlling person. And I used to think the same. I thought I'm not controlling at all, but control doesn't necessarily mean you tell your partner exactly what to do. It can show up in a lot of different ways. For example, you might over-explain something. That is also a way of trying to show your need for control, or people-pleasing, or bending over backwards to fix things, or trying to manage their emotions, or over-analyzing. That's also a part of control. Or internal control is also part of control. But control doesn't create security. Trust does. And control is just, an illusion. Like overthinking is just an illusion and doesn't get you to the solution. So the second survival state you might be in is like, I can't handle this without them, so I cling tighter. That's why we're often being called as clingy, which is very annoying. But, we kind of feel like we can't be without them, so we have to be around them a lot of times. So maybe you feel panic when you're can't be around your partner often, so you seek constant reassurance, you overtext, you over-apologize, and your nervous system is in distress. So the only way to really calm down seems to be by getting like proof that they get to stick with you, that they won't leave, that they, are very committed and to spend lots of quality time with you. But again, real security isn't in their response or how much quality time they spend with you, but by learning to self-soothe. You need to learn to self-soothe and not just to rely on co-regulation. And the third method you might try to fall into is like the pattern of escape. An escape might sound like, you know what, I don't need you anymore. Nothing else is working here, so I'm going to shut down. I'm going to detach completely. I'm going to emotionally numb myself. I'm going to think about an escape plan, maybe attached to someone else already I see in my environment. So I try to get my needs fulfilled through maybe my colleague. I convince myself that, what, you don't care about me at all. You don't give a shit about me. You might ghost, maybe you detach completely. You suddenly feel nothing about this person because you've convinced yourself the person doesn't love you, and that's it. This isn't healing either. This is exactly the patterns of like you avoiding everything. It's more like a self-protective method. And this is actually a state that I fell into my first relationship, when I've noticed my first partner wasn't prioritizing me at all, and I got cheated on once with him as well, and I kind of once surprised him when we were in a long distance relationship, and I went over to our hometown to see him, and he didn't make any space for me. He didn't want to see me really and did some nasty things. I completely detached from him in a bad way, but in that time it really protected me emotionally. I like slowly detached more and more. And then the breakup for me was super easy because at that time I didn't really care about him anymore. And the breakup was the easiest thing for me. Again, I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying at that time I was very unaware that I did this. And I've seen this a lot of times in people who have an anxious attachment style, who have an abandonment wound. And that's a way of slowly letting go of that relationship. And that didn't heal my anxious attachment style, by the way, at all, because I wasn't aware of this pattern. And next time when I was in a relationship, I started with control, then I started with cling, and in the end, I went into this escape method again. So don't recommend it. I really recommend to really heal your abandonment wound so you don't do this cycle all over again. So the control response is more called the fight response. You're actively trying to solve the problem a little bit too hard, you're a bit too much in your masculine energy. The cling response is called more the fawn response. You're really trying to people please, you're trying to be very loving, but you're trying to over rely on co-regulation. I would say this is kind of similar. It's not exactly the same, but very similar. And then the escape response is very much like the flight response. You are escaping, detaching from it already. And yeah, these patterns really have kept you safe at some point, right? But in the long term, they really create more pain, not just for yourself, also for your partner and for your relationship. It's just not healthy. And talking about control response, by the way, I have a mini course I highly recommend. It's called Stop Overthinking Your Relationship in 4 Steps, that directly addresses this control cycle. It's all about releasing the grip on things you can't control, like overthinking, obsessively trying to change your partner, or even, the internal struggle about worrying in your relationship, worrying about the future. And here's the thing, when you keep overthinking, you are actually reinforcing these nervous system patterns. Your brain thinks, this must be important. So if we are spending so much time on it, this makes, the pathways even stronger. So the more we overthink, the more sensitive our threat detector system really becomes. When you learn to interrupt this cycle, you start building new neural pathways that say, you know what, I am safe, I can handle uncertainty. This mini course gives you practical tools to break this loop and stop your brain from treating normal relationship ups and downs like a survival threat. Again, if it's something you struggle with, especially with an avoidant attached partner, check the link in the description or in the show notes. It could really save you months and years of unnecessary anxiety anxiety and pain and really help you living in the present moment so you don't miss out on all the magical things that are happening right now. So now let's talk about where does this fear really come from. Let's go a little bit deeper. So your brain isn't reacting to what's happening now, it's reacting to old unresolved wounds, right? So as babies and young children, we take everything personal. That's key to understand. If our parents don't comfort us immediately or not consistently enough, this makes a huge difference. Let's say if your dad works overtime, or if your parents divorce, even if you get sick and they can't take care of you good enough over long-term periods and consistently enough, we think, why aren't you taking care of me? Don't you love me enough? Am I not important enough for you? And then we make it really something about us. We add meaning to things. And we add meaning to really neutral circumstances. A divorce is neutral. Sickness is neutral. But our thoughts add positive or negative meanings to these things. So then we think we are not lovable enough, or we're not good enough, or we have to prove our worth. So later then we try to earn maybe their love by crying louder to get their attention. Maybe getting better grades, being the good girl or good boy, good kid who never really creates trouble, or are we shrinking ourselves to fit in? So maybe as a kid, you craved love, but felt like you had to earn it. So maybe your caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes present, sometimes not, and you felt unsafe expressing your feelings, so you suppressed them. And then your brain remembered, hey, you know what? Love is not secure. Closeness can be taken away at any moment. And if you don't do enough, maybe you will be abandoned. So now, when your partner pulls away, even slightly, it feels like it's abandonment all over again, and you think your partner is the one who, creates this emotional pain. You don't remember that it's actually the thing that's happened in your past. It's not your partner's fault. So now, drum roll, now let's talk about the 4 steps how to heal your abandonment wound and to break free from this cycle. The understanding, the awareness part is very important to build the foundation, but really taking action is the next level step. Awareness alone is not going to heal your abandonment wound. You really have to take action on this. So this is not step 2. And I've created this 4R method to really heal my anxious attachment style, and you can really use this to heal your abandonment wound as well. So step 1 is release your emotions. So your anxiety builds up until it explodes, right? Instead of suppressing it, journal it. Feel the emotion. What am I feeling? What triggers me? Move your body. Anxiety is stored in your body. What triggered me? If anxiety is something that is really activating, or maybe shake your body, maybe take a walk, maybe breathe into it, allow it to be there. Feel what the emotion does and then react accordingly. Name it to tame it. Say it out loud, like, I feel abandoned right now. A part of me feels abandoned. But that doesn't mean I am. Again, the feeling is always valid, but the story, the thoughts are not. Make sure you really separate the emotions from the facts. Give yourself permission to cry if needed. Tears release stress hormones. So I have seen so many times whenever someone cries, you say, oh, don't cry, or you're so strong when someone doesn't cry. And it's nothing strong about not crying. In fact, it's actually strong if you are able to cry. So, really let it all out. Whatever emotions you're feeling, allow yourself to feel. Then step number 2 is rewire your beliefs. So your beliefs shape your reality. If you believe I am hard to love, or people will always leave, every little distance will feel like proof, because your beliefs are always something you will see and find proof for. So make your old beliefs painful to hold on to. So write down consequences of keeping this belief, of holding on to this belief. Let's say, if I believe I'm not good enough, I'll keep over-explaining and over-giving and over-apologizing. Write down all the negative consequences for really holding on to this belief, why this would be painful, the consequence, because we want to avoid the pain. That is part of your brain's survival method. Reminding your brain, what if I keep holding on to this belief? bad things will happen. You can also do the opposite of when you're writing down the benefits that come to changing the belief. If you don't want to remind of pain, I can understand that. You can also do the opposite by saying, what if I believe I am good enough and I will stop chasing people who don't see my worth? This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about rewiring your new belief with positive or even neutral associations, because the more you see, if I actually believe I'm good enough, what are all the things that might happen then in my life? Think about all the other areas of life, not just in your relationship. You can think about your health, you can think about your career, because the more areas of your life you actually think about, you feel much more stronger emotions, and you can really see all the opportunities. And this is how you rewire your brain. And again, don't just do this in your thoughts. Journal this out, say it out loud, repeat this at night, in the morning, when you're in a hypersuggestible state. And then really learn to distinguish between avoidant behavior versus normal relationship distance. Not every bit of space means they're pulling away. Sometimes it's just healthy autonomy. And step 3, how you can really heal your abandonment wound, is reconnect with yourself, with your unmet needs from your childhood. So your anxious attachment isn't just about relationship, it's about relationship with you mostly, right? So start making yourself the source of emotional safety. Build a life that excites you outside your relationship. Follow through small promises. Rebuild trust with yourself first. The less your happiness depends on someone else, the safer you will feel in the end. Establish also boundaries to yourself, to maintain routines, even when dating, when you're in a relationship, with friends, with colleagues. That will really help you as well to stop abandoning yourself. Boundaries are key for emotional safety and physical safety too. Saying yes to everything will really deepen your anxious attachment style and deepen your anxiety and your low self-esteem. Get comfortable in silence, space, and time in relationships. The more aligned you are with your true self, the less energy you spend on maintaining false personas. Think of it like this. You're running 2 different programs. One when you see a certain friend, and another one if you meet a different friend. It's just draining your hard drive, your battery, right? And the reason this pattern keeps showing up is because a part of you, your younger self, never got the love, consistency, and safety or closeness they needed. And that's not your fault. But now it's your responsibility to give it to yourself first. It's not your partner's responsibility. It's not your friends. It's not your parents anymore. And another huge part in fulfilling your own needs is becoming the parent you never had. And I think this might sound strange because a lot of people had a great childhood and they didn't have this parent who abandoned them. It might have been just this perceived abandonment, as we just talked about. Sometimes you just thought your parents didn't love you because of some inconsistencies, because you as a child took everything personal. But now it's time to really give everything to yourself that you might have been missing as a child. This is also called reparenting. It's learning to be the safe and loving and consistent presence that your younger self maybe never had. If let's say your dad left you when you were 3 years old and actually abandoned you, be that parent, that dad for yourself now. And for me, my abandonment wound came from being very hypersensitive and struggling with allergies, and as a newborn spending months in hospital. And I always internalized that I wasn't good enough and also that I wasn't safe. I had lots of nightmares growing up about not feeling safe, and I never really knew where this came from. And I think that came from that part. And something that helped me really was visualization. So maybe try this, close your eyes and picture yourself as a child or as a baby or something when you felt very maybe alone or unseen or abandoned or unsafe. When this trigger happened the first time, imagine yourself stepping into that scene. Sit next to your person, to your little you, holding their hand or hugging you. Tell yourself something you would really want to hear, like, I see you, I hear you, I won't leave you, I'm by your side, we can do this together. Because at the end of the day, you are the most important person in your life. You were there when you were born, and you will be there the day you die. So I think it's really about time that you really become your parent, your best friend, or your inner voice that really guides you and supports you instead of tearing yourself down, instead of bullying yourself. And the more you show up for yourself, the less you will need your partner to validate yourself all the time, to approve your decisions, to fulfill your needs, to make tiny decisions, to make the big decisions. And if someone questions your decisions, the easier it will become to stand up against that opinion or against that person. Or if someone leaves you, it doesn't face you as much anymore, because now you really know who you are and you know how to fulfill your needs. And if someone leaves, you know how to comfort yourself, you know how to soothe yourself, you know how to process your emotions, and everything else becomes much easier. It might still sting, you might still feel abandoned, you might feel rejected, but it's still, you have your tools and you can know how to comfort yourself and be there for yourself and cheer yourself up when things break down, but you won't break down into pieces. Fourth step of learning to heal your abandonment wound and meet your own needs here and stop abandoning yourself is reflecting on your shadows. And that's really the deeper part of reflecting on the triggers and on yourself. And you can ask yourself lots of questions here. For example, you can ask yourself, where did your fear of abandonment first start? What childhood experiences made you feel unseen or unworthy or replaceable? You can really journal lots of questions here and really go deeper into the healing process, one step at a time, one question at a time. How can you give yourself the love, security that you craved back then? You can ask yourself, when do you feel most abandoned? Or by who do you feel most abandoned? And the mirror questions I love the most is, so let's say, do you feel abandoned by that person? And then ask yourself as a mirror back, where are you abandoning yourself and other people or that person who you feel abandoned by? Or if you feel neglected by this specific person, ask yourself, where are you neglecting yourself? That's exactly the part you need to heal first. If you feel very triggered by someone else's action, usually is the part we have to heal in ourselves first. When we heal these parts within us, everything else won't bother us as much anymore. If you feel like our partner doesn't show up consistently for us, ask yourself, where are you not showing up consistently for yourself or for other people or for that person? So what happens actually when you heal? So a few things happening. You stop overanalyzing every text message or every word they say. You stop begging for reassurance. You stop feeling like love is constantly a test. You stop chasing for validation. You stop accepting breadcrumbs because you know you deserve the whole loaf. And instead, you feel confident, and even when your partner needs space. Instead, you know your worth no matter how someone else acts in front of you or to you. And you recognize that your partner having their own life is not a rejection of you. And you understand that healthy relationships require both people to maintain separate identities. As its core, anxious attachment is about seeking validation from others that you're worthy and lovable. And you're trying to get from others that you haven't learned to give this to yourself. But when you heal, everything changes. You no longer need this constant approval from other people because you know deep down that you're already lovable and worthy and good enough, and that you have your back when they leave you or when they don't like you. And you stop accepting these breadcrumbs. And when you stop abandoning yourself, you stop attracting people who just treat you like you're not good enough and attract people who are treating you like you are enough. You attract the same kind of energy. Now, the one last mindset shift I really wanted to give you as a takeaway, no matter if you've experienced actual abandonment or just a perceived abandonment, this was very painful as a child or as a little baby for you. But it's not your fault. Again, it's not your fault that you have experienced this. And I want you to write this down. I want you to internalize this. Experiencing an abandonment or a perceived abandonment is never your fault, okay? As a child, you didn't have the power to change your situations. Your parents did their best with what they knew and the resources they had. Now you are able to take care of your needs. You can now learn to resource yourself through various resources and people, through not just this one person, not through just your partner, but through your friends, through connections, through learning to meet new people, and mainly through yourself as well first. And this is not just a mindset shift. This is really how you stop depending on one person and to create multiple sources and to become a powerful creator of your life. I can find solutions myself. Understanding this can really reshape your entire approach to relationships. And instead of seeing your partner's interest as like rejection, you can recognize this is actually a healthy individual. We don't have to add extra meaning into that. The more you teach your brain through action, that when your partner withdraws, you're safe now, that you don't need to chase or call or double text or panic when you feel anxiety, that is actually okay, and that you're safe, and then you can just feel the anxiety. The more you will rewire your beliefs and your nervous system, and that you can learn step by step to fulfill your needs, to self-soothe, to reconnect with friends, to connect to yourself. And the more you will become securely attached, to heal your anxious attachment style, to heal your abandonment wound. By the way, I have a special guide, PDF guide linked in the description below. That's an instant guide. It's called Attachment 101, the master guide that will transform your relationship with yourself first. I think it's like 100 plus pages of like things I've learned about attachment theory, about my personal journey. It includes the 4R method in short, and other methods about relationships, about attachment theory, about the anxious avoidance cycle. It costs only €7 right now. If you use the code 90OFF, I think it's a powerful resource to start your healing journey from anxious to secure. And yeah, please don't underestimate when you give me a 5-star rating on your podcast platform that you're listening to, because other people will be able to find this podcast more easily. By the way, this was part 3 of Meet Your Relationship Needs series. If you want to watch part 2 on how to identify your unmet relationship needs to stop self-sabotage in your relationship, check it out. And remember, change in the relationship starts with you, thought by thought, action by action. And now episode by episode, I'm Yula, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.